The sky that went silent, the battlefield above the planet. Vargos burned like a dying sun. Thousands of alien warships traded plasma fire across the black void. Explosions bloomed like angry stars, lighting up the wreckage of destroyed fleets. It was supposed to be another ordinary galactic war, another fight for territory and pride. But something was about to happen that would freeze the galaxy itself. Admiral Krenth of the Thalorian Dominion barked orders from the bridge of his flagship. His scaled hands gripped the console as enemy missiles streaked toward his fleet. "Keep firing, no retreat," he shouted, believing victory was near. The enemy, the Krix Alliance, was on the edge of collapse. Their ships were breaking formation, their communication lines filled with panic and static. Then all at once the sensors screamed. Every radar, every scanner, every tracking system across the war zone glitched at the same moment. The holographic display on Krenth's bridge turned into static noise. Engineers shouted that the readings were off the charts. Something massive had entered the system, but it wasn't listed in any database. Across the war zone, both Thalorian and Krix ships paused their fire. The chaos faded into uneasy silence. Even the wrecks drifting in space seemed to stop burning as if holding their breath. "Identify that object," Krenth demanded, his voice trembling slightly. No one answered. The scanners couldn't define it. Only a single phrase appeared on every console. "Unclassified mass detected." Then the shadow appeared, from the edge of the star's light. Something enormous emerged. It was darker than the void itself, its surface absorbing all light around it. The alien admirals watched in disbelief as the shape grew larger and larger. It wasn't a fleet. It was one single ship, but it dwarfed even the largest dreadnoughts ever built. Gasps filled the bridge. "Is that a station?" Someone whispered. "No," Krenth replied slowly. "That's a ship." The unidentified vessel moved with impossible grace for its size. Its engines burned with a cold blue hue, quiet but infinitely powerful. Every ship in the sector locked their weapons on it, yet none dared to fire. Its armor gleamed faintly under the distant star, showing strange markings, letters no alien recognized. The markings were ancient, written in a long-forgotten human script, but somewhere deep in every alien's mind. The symbol looked familiar, like an echo from an old nightmare. In the communication channel, static shifted into a deep tone, one long, low pulse. The same signal repeated across every frequency. Then came a voice, calm, commanding and motionless. "This is Terran vessel Nemesis," the voice said. "Cease fire immediately." The sound alone made veteran captains tremble. The word Terran had not been heard in over 400 years. Across the galaxy, millions watching the live war broadcast fell silent. In every world, in every outpost, the same question was whispered. Humans? Legends said they were gone, erased after the Great Council War. But the shadow ship in orbit said otherwise. Humanity had returned, and their silence was louder than any weapon. The Thalorian fleet attempted to scan the Nemesis again, but their sensors only returned static. No readings, no energy signature. It was as if the ship existed outside the normal laws of physics. The hull was lined with dark armor plates shifting slightly like it was alive, and around it space itself seemed distorted. Even light bent away from its surface, forming a faint ripple of gravitational force. Krenth's communications officer looked terrified. "Admiral, the ship is charging something," he said. "Shields up," Krenth ordered instantly. But the moment he gave the command, every shield generator in his fleet went offline. Power drained from his systems without warning. The same happened to the enemy fleet, both sides equally crippled. The Nemesis had disabled them all with a single invisible pulse. The voice spoke again. "You are fighting on a world protected by the Terran Union," it said. "Any further hostility will be met with retaliation." No emotion, no anger, just cold certainty. Krenth stared at the massive ship as his hands shook. He knew that tone. He had heard it before in the archives. Recordings of the last humans before their disappearance. They had warned the galaxy once, and now they had returned to enforce that warning. Without firing a single shot, the human battleship had stopped an entire war. No one dared to move, no one dared to speak. The galaxy had seen countless empires rise and fall, countless weapons tested and forgotten. But never had it seen silence so powerful. In that silence, the truth settled like dust. Humanity was not extinct. They had been watching, waiting, and now they were back. As the Nemesis drifted slowly between the alien fleets, its colossal shadow passed across the burning skies of Vargos. Every soldier on the surface looked up. Feeling the darkness cover the stars for the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled and the war zone went silent. Because one human ship had arrived and its very presence was a message. The era of alien dominance was over. Humanity had returned from the dark. The galaxy remembers terror word of the mysterious battleship spread faster than light. Across colonies, stations, and council worlds, whispers became fear. The name humanity rose again after 400 silent years. Some called it a ghost, others a warning. But every admiral felt the same cold weight. On the Thalorian flagship, Admiral Krenth still stared at the dark vessel. No movement, no signal, only that name, Nemesis. His crew begged for orders, yet he gave none. He remembered ancient records sealed by the Council. Stories of the old Terran wars when humans had burned fleets to dust. Back then, the galaxy had laughed at humans. They were small, fragile, reckless, but their rage had no limit. When their homeworld was attacked, they did not surrender. They built weapons that broke moons. They forged machines that shattered time itself in short bursts of madness. And when the wars ended, the humans vanished into the void, leaving legends behind. Now one of their ships had returned, and the air of myth became real. Every civilization tuned its scanners toward the Vargos system. Some prayed it was a trick, others hoped to see the truth. Old veterans who once fought against humans whispered. They promised they would come back one day, far from the battlefield. Deep within the Galactic Council's central archives, alarms sounded. The High Counselor of Security demanded to know how a Terran ship still existed. Scientists rushed to decrypt the Nemesis's signal. Their faces turned pale when they found the original encryption tag. It was genuine Terran military code. Pre-collapse era, untouched, unforgeable. On the outer colonies, panic turned into chaos. Merchants began recalling fleets from the border sectors. Pirates and raiders shut down operations and went into hiding. Even the most powerful warlords understood that if humans truly returned, nothing would be safe. Meanwhile, aboard the Nemesis, Commander Arya Vale stood on the bridge, her gaze cold, her hands steady on the command console. Her crew of genetically enhanced Terrans waited silently for orders. They were not here to conquer, but to observe. To remind the galaxy that the age of Terran silence was over, she spoke to her officers in a calm tone. Begin wideband scan. Find any traces of Council interference on this planet, she said. The crew nodded, their movements precise. Almost machine-like, these were not ordinary humans. They were the descendants of those who fled Earth's final war, forged in exile, hardened by isolation, and trained for one purpose, survival. The Nemesis launched small drones, their trails glowing faintly blue as they descended toward Vargos. Every alien ship in orbit moved aside instinctively. None wanted to be seen as a threat. Each drone recorded data, mapping energy signatures and biological traces across the surface. Then they found it, deep underground, a hidden council base using human technology from centuries ago. Arya's eyes narrowed. So they still keep our ghosts buried, she whispered. The galaxy thought humanity had died out, yet here was proof that the council had scavenged their creations. They had taken human science, twisted it, and used it to control the galaxy. Her communications officer turned. Commander, incoming wide-range transmission request. From who? She asked. Every major fleet in the system, he replied. They want to talk. Arya smiled faintly. Then let them listen. A moment later, the Nemesis activated a holographic broadcast that reached every ship. A single image appeared. Commander Arya Vale standing tall on the bridge, her dark armor reflecting starlight. She spoke softly, but her voice carried the power of thunder. This is the Terran strategic vessel Nemesis, she said. You have spilled blood on a world protected by Terran hands. You have broken the ancient accord signed under the ashes of Sul. Cease fire, or face the consequences of your arrogance. Her words echoed across the comms. Some alien admirals tried to answer, but their voices trembled. Others shut their channels in silence. No one dared to challenge the authority in that voice. On countless planets, historians rushed to open the forbidden archives. Old data crystals glowed again, projecting the lost history of humanity. There were images of Earth's burning skies, of ships named Titan, Omen, and Nemesis. There were quotes from ancient Terran captains who swore that one day, if the stars still shone, humanity would return to settle the score. And now that promise stood fulfilled. The Nemesis hovered silently over Vargos, its guns idle, its presence enough to paralyze empires. In the council chambers, arguments turned to shouting. Half wanted to attack before more Terran ships appeared, half begged to surrender before they woke something even worse. As the galaxy argued, Arya looked at the blue planet below. Her voice softened for the first time. "Home is still out there," she murmured, "and they forgot who we were." The stars around her seemed to flicker in agreement for every alien eye watching. The truth became clear. The Terrans were not myth. They were memory, and memories had just come alive. The message of the dead. The galaxy held its breath as the nemesis hovered in silence. The stars around it shimmered faintly, reflecting off its dark hull. Every fleet, every listening post, every hidden base waited for the next Terran transmission. But for several long minutes, there was nothing but static inside the ship. Commander Arya Vale stood before a circular chamber filled with holographic lights. Ancient data fragments rotated slowly in the air, each one a relic from the wars of old. "Begin the broadcast," she ordered quietly. Her voice echoed through the command deck like a whisper from history. The Nemesis sent out a transmission on every frequency. Across the galaxy, billions of devices flickered alive. Holoscreens, implants, even ancient terminals, and then they all displayed the same image. A battlefield burning under a red sun, mountains of wrecked ships and ash-filled skies. The voice that followed was cold, human, and full of sorrow. "This is Commander Arya Vale of the Terran strategic vessel Nemesis," she said. "For centuries, the galaxy has lived under the lie of peace. You were told humanity was destroyed. But we did not die. We were silenced." The hologram shifted to show the ruins of Earth. Vast craters where oceans once flowed. Cities melted into glass, alien fleets hovered above, raining plasma fire on a dying world. The audience gasped across the stars, for none had ever seen Earth like this before. "We remember the Council's decision," Arya continued. "When they declared us too dangerous, too uncontrollable, too human. They came to our home and burned it, fearing what they could not command. But humanity did not vanish. We left," she said, her tone sharpening like steel. "We went beyond the rim, into the void, where no one followed." The holo changed again, showing massive Terran ships leaving the solar system. Thousands of sleeper arcs vanishing into hyperspace trails. Unknown regions swallowed them, and the galaxy forgot until now. Across the council chambers, silence reigned. The oldest members of the Senate lowered their heads, knowing the truth they had buried had come back to haunt them. Admiral Krenth watched from his flagship. His scales pale with disbelief, he whispered, "We were the monsters." "Not them." Arya's image leaned closer in the broadcast. "The Terran Union does not seek vengeance," she said. "But we will remind the galaxy what balance means." A series of encrypted codes appeared behind her. Human archive markers from the Lost War. Each code led to a hidden database in Council-controlled worlds. Files proving the Council's crimes, their genocides, their secret human experiments. Panic erupted. Governments began erasing data, deleting history, but it was too late. The Nemesis had already uploaded every file into public channels. Billions saw the truth unfiltered. The betrayal of humanity by those who claimed to protect peace. In the mining colonies, alien workers rose up against their overlords. In the outer rings, fleets mutinied, demanding the Council explain the lies. And through it all, the Nemesis floated calmly in orbit, not firing a single shot, but causing revolutions with words alone. Inside the Terran warship, Arya turned toward her bridge crew. She saw the reflection of fire and rebellion spreading through her holographic map. "They will fear us again," said Lieutenant Rowe. Her tactical officer Arya shook her head. "No, not fear," she replied softly. "They will remember." The crew fell silent for a brief moment. Even the hum of the ship seemed to fade. Then, the commander walked to the viewport, watching the planet Vargos beneath, her voice barely above a whisper. "Humanity never wanted to rule the stars," she said. "We only wanted to survive them." The transmission ended, but the message lived on. The galaxy was no longer the same. Empires shook, rebellions began, and the Council's power started to crumble. And at the center of it all, one Terran battleship watched in silence, its engines still cold, its weapons still sleeping, because humanity had learned that sometimes the loudest weapon in the universe was the truth itself. Shadows over the Council, the Galactic Council's capital world. Elindra Prime once shone like a beacon of order. Its towers stretched into the clouds. Wrapped in golden glass, its people believed in peace, unity, and the illusion of safety. But now the illusion was cracking. In the great marble hall of the High Council, chaos ruled. Ambassadors shouted across the chamber, their voices echoing like thunder. Humans were destroyed. One cried, "This is impossible!" Screamed another. Yet the holograms hovering above the chamber said otherwise. The image of Commander Arya Vale played in endless repetition, each word she spoke slicing through centuries of lies. The Supreme Chancellor Vorthan slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Silence!" he roared, his eyes bloodshot with rage. He turned to his security advisor. "How did this Terran warship appear? How did it survive?" The advisor trembled. "Sir, there were old reports, black projects, abandoned human weapons stored in deep vaults." The room went quiet, the truth settling like ash. The Council had tried to erase humanity, yet had secretly kept their relics. Their greed had resurrected the very nightmare they once feared. Across the galaxy, riots spread like wildfire. Aliens protested in every major city, chanting, "Truth for Terra, justice for the dead." In outer systems, small fleets refused Council orders. Declaring neutrality, governments crumbled as the legend of humanity's return turned into a revolution. Back aboard the Nemesis, Commander Arya watched the chaos unfold through holographic feeds. Her expression was unreadable, her tone calm. "Phase 2 is complete," reported Lieutenant Rowe. "The Council's stability is collapsing." Arya nodded slowly. "Good," she said. "They need to see their empire fall from within before we even fire a shot." She walked to the observation deck. Below, Vargos glowed beneath a twilight sky, its atmosphere rippling with electric storms. Her reflection shimmered in the glass. "We warned them," she whispered, and they never listened. Suddenly, the tactical officer spoke. "Commander, multiple Council fleets are converging, 200 ships approaching from jump space." The bridge darkened as warning lights blinked red. Nemesis's AI, an ancient Terran construct named Echo 9, spoke in a deep mechanical tone. "Council fleet detected, weapons charged." "Hails incoming." Arya stood tall, her silver eyes calm and unshaken. "Open channel," she ordered. The central hollow flickered, revealing Chancellor Vorthan's furious face. "Terran Commander," he hissed, "you have spread chaos across the galaxy. You will surrender your vessel and submit to Council judgment." Arya smiled faintly, a small cold smile that made even machines hesitate. "Council judgment?" she said softly. "You lost that right when you burned Earth." The Chancellor's voice rose. "You think you can stand against us with one ship?" Behind Arya, the crew stood silently, not one of them moving. The commander turned her gaze toward the stars. "One ship," she said, "is enough to change everything." She gestured toward the hollow map. Dozens of small signals appeared across the edges of the galaxy. Hidden Terran signatures, long dormant, now flickering online. Old beacons awakening after centuries of silence. The Council officers gasped. "What are those?" Vorthan demanded. Arya's voice grew quiet. "The ghosts of soul," she said. "We buried our past in the dark. But you made us dig it up." The transmission ended. In the Council chamber, fear replaced arrogance. The galaxy's most powerful rulers felt small for the first time. They had awakened something that did not need numbers or allies. Something that had endured extinction and returned with purpose. Meanwhile, on the lower levels of Alindra Prime, a group of young alien scholars broke into the sealed archives. They found what the Council had hidden for centuries, files labeled Terra Project Exile. Inside were recordings of the final human transmissions. Voices of soldiers and civilians vowing to return when the galaxy was ready to face truth. Tears filled their eyes as they realized the legends were not myths. The humans had never been the monsters. They were the mirror the galaxy refused to face. Back aboard the Nemesis, Arya stood before the viewport once more. The Council fleet was arriving, countless ships glowing like fireflies across the void. Her crew waited for orders, hands ready on the weapon systems. Arya took a deep breath, her voice steady. "Hold fire," she said. The crew looked confused. "They must make the first move," she continued. "Only then will history remember who fired upon peace." The stars outside flickered with approaching light. The silence before the storm stretched across space, and somewhere deep within the Nemesis, old engines began to hum softly. The sound of awakening giants, As shadows spread over the Council's golden world, one truth became clear. The age of fear was ending. The age of humanity was beginning. The warship that silenced the stars. The stars above Elindra Prime shimmered with the glow of war. Hundreds of Council warships surrounded the Nemesis in a perfect circle. Their engines burned bright, casting light across the dark void. But the Terran warship remained still, silent, watching, waiting. Commander Arya Vale stood on her command deck, her silver eyes fixed on the holographic display. Her crew waited in absolute silence. Not one sound echoed except the slow hum of the ship's ancient power core. Outside, the Council fleets moved closer, like predators circling something they did not understand. Commander, enemy fleets are locking weapons, Lieutenant Rowe reported. Arya didn't blink. Let them, she said. Echo 9, the ship's AI, spoke softly through the intercom. Probability of total engagement, 92%. Confirmed, Arya replied. Prepare for full defense activation. The stars brightened as the first wave of plasma torpedoes fired. Thousands of glowing projectiles streaked toward the Nemesis. The explosions painted the void in colors of death. But when the smoke cleared, the human warship still stood untouched. The alien admirals stared in disbelief. Their weapons hadn't even scratched the hull. The Nemesis's surface shimmered faintly, its dark armor absorbing and deflecting energy like ripples on water. Then came the hum, low and deep, a vibration that reached every corner of the fleet. Energy buildup inside the Terran ship, shouted a Council officer. But before they could react, a bright pulse of blue light burst outward. Every enemy ship's systems went offline in an instant. Weapons powered down, engines failed, shields vanished. It was as if the Nemesis had erased the laws of physics around it. Inside the silent Council flagships, fear took root. Admirals screamed for control. Engineers begged for power, but nothing worked. Every screen, every sensor displayed the same message. Terran signal detected. Arya watched quietly as the massive fleets drifted helplessly. Echo 9, she said. Mark their coordinates. Coordinates locked, the AI replied. Her hand hovered over the control pad, her face unreadable. She could destroy them all with one command. But she hesitated. Revenge was easy, justice was harder. Then the communication console beeped. An image appeared. Chancellor Vorthan, his face pale, his voice trembling. Commander Vale, please, we surrender, he said. The Council never wanted war. Arya's expression did not change. You burned Earth, she said. You silenced our people, erased our name, and now you beg for peace, Vorthan's voice cracked. We were afraid of you. Arya nodded slowly. You should have been afraid of what you became instead. She turned to her crew. Target their flagship only, she ordered. Fire one tungsten round, the ship's cannons charged. Magnetic coils glowing white-hot. Then a single shot. A metal slug launched at near light speed, invisible to the naked eye in less than a second. The Council flagship vanished in a silent flash. No explosion, no debris, just absence. The rest of the fleet froze. No one dared to move, no one dared to speak. Commander Arya opened a final transmission to every ship still listening. Humanity does not seek to rule you, she said. But understand this, we are no longer your ghosts. We are the consequence of your forgetting. Her words spread across the galaxy once more. Worlds far beyond Elindra received the message. Some fell to their knees, others raised their banners toward the stars. For the first time in living memory, the name human was spoken with respect, not fear. As the Nemesis turned away, its engines roared to life. A wave of energy rippled through space as it jumped into hyperspace. Behind it, the galaxy remained silent. No one pursued, no one fired. The stars seemed to dim slightly as the Terran ship disappeared into the black. On the surface of Elindra Prime, the people looked up. They saw the faint trail of light fading across the sky. Some whispered prayers, others cried. And somewhere deep in the crowd, a young alien child looked to the heavens and asked, "Will they come back?" Far away aboard the Nemesis, Arya stood alone in her quarters through the viewport. Endless starlight stretched before her. She closed her eyes and whispered softly, "Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to remind them who we are." The ship's engines pulsed like a heartbeat, and the stars around it flickered once more. The galaxy had gone quiet. For the warship that silenced the stars had spoken, and the universe would never forget the sound.